Hello citizens and Happy New Year. This is the first Ward 9 TV Lite of 2016. And this is a message specifically to Ramsayites and Inglewoodonians. On January 11th, as the first item of the public hearing, 6.1 on Council's agenda, we will be hearing a very interesting case. So back in September, John Torode's proposal to rezone the old Imperial Oil site that has now been sort of cleaned up, and it sits on 11th Street right by the underpass, right next to the future Green Line station, just north of the Ramsay Design Center on the east side of 11th Street. It came before Council, and it was asking for an MH1 land use district. Now, an MH1 land use district is a mixed-use form, predominantly residential, but with a retail and commercial base, and 6 stories. 8 stories, maybe maximum, but it's very difficult to build 8 stories in this economy, so it would probably end up being 6-story stick frame. And Council was concerned. Council said, you know, we're spending $5 billion or close to $5 billion on the Green Line. This is right next to the station. We're not convinced that 6 stories is enough density for exactly right next to a station, right in an industrial piece of land, shielding a neighborhood like Ramsay. And the question was asked to both the applicant and to the representatives of the 11th Street businesses who were participating in the public hearing, can we explore going to a higher density? And there was a willingness on both the applicant and the Ramsay business representative to pursue potentially higher density. Now, since then, they've looked at it, they've discussed with the community, and they're coming back with a recommendation for MH2, which is basically the same land use district, but instead of being a medium-sized mixed-use building, it can take it up to 12 or 15 stories, which is a radical change for Ramsay, specifically in this part of the community. There was density of that scale contemplated in the Ramsay Exchange. Just on the other side of the train tracks in Inglewood, years ago, Inglewood had endorsed a land use for a 12 to 15-story tower on the old Farmer Jones site, but that never came to pass. And the rationale was to put that kind of high density right around the station, so there was a visual clue from everywhere that where the tall buildings are, the station was. The question now before us is whether this makes planning sense. Now, I want to be very clear that I'm aware of the fact that there are members in the community who support this, and there are also many members of the community who do not support it. And the public hearing on January 11th, probably first thing it's probably going to be getting going at like 10 a.m. or just after. The public hearing starts at 9:30, but don't be there any later than 10 a.m. to participate in the public hearing. You will have 5 minutes to speak. Come and let us know what you think. This is interesting because Council has actually recommended and asked for this, and yet we have to remain amenable to persuasion. Now, I want to be very clear about the kinds of arguments we need to hear. This is a question about whether this makes planning sense or not. I understand that some people who are in opposition are pointing to the fact that we just undertook the Green Line charrette, and the Green Line charrette looked at a 6 to 8 story form at this site. And the question is, well, if we just spent all this time doing all this planning work, why are we changing it now? Now, I want to be very clear that the charrette did not contemplate taller buildings there because the market analyst, who was a hired professional part of the charrette team, said there is 0 chance the market would be able to respond with anything higher than that. I actually, at the charrette, thought that was a mistake. I made that clear. And what we have before us is proof that, in fact, the market is responding differently, that there is market appetite to build something higher there. So whether it was discussed at the charrette or not is not at issue. What we need to hear from you, whether you're for or against, is why you think this is a good idea or a bad idea from a planning perspective. Will it contribute or detract to the kind of Main Street that we're envisioning along 11th Street? So please come on January 11th. Don't be there any later than 10 a.m., 9:30 the council starts, so come for then is your best bet. We'd love to hear from you. and we want to hear your best arguments for or against based on the planning merits. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to a very interesting public hearing.